This is our project at the Tampa Bay Rays upcoming new location opinion with Shalissa Barnett, Katie Gerdes, Jonas Nathaniel, and David Larger. So the Tampa Bay Rays are a professional baseball team located in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Rays have been playing at Tropicana Field since 1988, and previously it was known as the Florida Suncoast Dome. So now they are looking for a new stadium due to the fact that their current stadium does not generate enough revenue, plus it is too far from Tampa Bay's area's population. So here's an example of our weighted scale overall. We have land at 30%, location at 25%, convenience at 20%, distance between cities 15%, and fan base 10%.
So the option of staying at Tropicana Field has political support from St. Petersburg's mayor and their Chamber of Commerce because of their Baseball Forever campaign. This is just a push to keep the Rays in St. Pete, and keeping them in St. Pete would allow them to be able to maintain their core fan base from Tampa and the other surrounding areas. The biggest con, obviously, is that 175 will still be a main traffic concern. Plus, by staying at their current field, they would need to renovate it, and that would cause the team to have to work around the renovation schedule. Also, renovations would most likely be more costly than just creating a new stadium altogether. Considering all of the positives and negatives about this location, we've given land a 20% grade, location 20%, convenience 10%, distance between cities 10%, and fan base 10% for a total of 70 out of 100.
Here are two pictures showing currently where Tropicana Field is located. Obviously, as you can see, it is very tucked away and pretty difficult for people to come and travel to, especially with only two solid routes to even reach the stadium. So if any car crashes or accidents happen, it's going to be very difficult to reach the stadium.
As for the area around Tropicana Field, most of the points are the same, like the Baseball Forever campaign, the political support, as well as 175 remaining an issue. A couple of the other pros to creating a new stadium, though, would be its multi-purpose design. There's been a model already created that shows how the green space around it would be utilized, as well as the inclusion of additional housing and shopping centers. Although, the building of a new stadium could potentially resurface some issues that were caused by the original building of Tropicana Field. There were a few neighborhoods and surrounding communities that were demolished and didn't receive any compensation. Lastly, as good as the new design sounds, some of the roadwork restructuring is a bit unrealistic. They're suggesting to tear down part of 175 and utilizing more public transit in order to ease the traffic issue. But the demo of a major highway seems a bit far-fetched just to build a new baseball stadium. Considering all of the positives and negatives for this location, we've given land a 25% grade, location 20%, convenience 10%, distance between cities 10%, and fan base 10% for a total of 75 out of 100.
So another option for the Tampa Bay Rays is the Derby Lane dog track. So politicians have suggested the stadium to be turned into a baseball stadium a few times, as it would be large enough for a stadium and also have sufficient parking. And also the area beside it is potential as well with 50,000 square feet. It's also close to the Tropicana Field right now, keeping the fan base, and since it's still in St. Pete. Some cons that we had for the dog track was traffic will still be an issue since there are only a few ways to get in and out of St. Pete. It's also not in the safest area, and when we thought about this, we compared it to the Braves, since the location they used to be in, it was great land and they had a lot of parking and so on. However, not a lot of things were around it, And another issue was it does not have anything around it, as in restaurant-wise or hotel-wise. So we thought that would be a negative as well for fans who would want to come early to the games and maybe pre-game and just have a round or anything like that. So the weighted scale that we came up with was land was 30% since it does have a lot of land, including the land beside it. The location was 10 since it's not in a prime location. Convenience, we did 5. Distance between cities, we did 10%, and the fan base was 5, since you know they would still keep most of their fans in that area. So here's a sky view of what it looks like of the Derby Lane dog track as well as the area around it.
Now I'm going to be talking about Racetrack Road in Oldmore. According to some of the plans that have been discussed between the mayor and the owner of the land, they have the convenience to build a new stadium and all the necessary facilities that are included when building a sporting complex on a vacant 120-acre land that is located across Tampa Bay Downs racetrack. Another really positive factor that must be included when um, considering this land is the fact that the owner of the land is on board and is willing to do anything to bring the Rays in town. This will make the deal and the whole plans easier to accomplish. Another huge advantage of this location is the fact that it's located in between Tampa and St. Pete, and it's really accessible throughout the city. Lastly, this location will also have the benefit to be funded by both the Pinellas and the Hillsborough County, having the stadium and the parking on the Pinellas side and the hotels and other facilities on the Hillsborough side. Going to the negatives, the only negatives one can find when looking at the location is the city of Oldmore, a city with a population of only 14,000 residents and a width of 10 miles. A pretty small city to be hosting an MLB team, especially when they don't have any major sporting teams already. Now, going to the weighted scale, I weighted the land as 30%, which was our maximum. As I talked before, they have the convenience of using 120-acre land that is given to them by both the landowner and the help of the mayor. Now, going to the location, I had a 10% because, first of all, the city is not big and they don't have a lot of residents there to build a fan base. On the other hand, though, the Hard Rock Cafe is up the road. Now, going to the convenience, as I talked before, the mayor of the city has been heavily involved with this project for more than 2 years, and the owner of the land is willing to do anything possible to bring the Rays in town. Also, 580 passes right across the town, and it's really accessible throughout, both from Tampa and St. Pete, as it is only 30 minutes from both those locations, which is also my point on the distance between cities, which is 10%. And lastly, going to our fan base, I had a 5% on my fan base because, as I already talked about before, the city of Oldsmar is a really small city and it only hosts 14,000 residents, which makes it really hard to build a fan base for them. Now you can see a picture of the land on Racetrack Road. On the bottom of the screen you can see the city of Oldsmar and 580 that crosses right through it.
Now what we will be referring to for our top pick for the Tampa Bay Fairground. So the pros for the Tampa Bay Fairground start off with a lot of room to work with. Next we have colleges surrounding the area with USF, University of Tampa, and Southeastern, and Florida Southern around also. Hotels are around for easy convenience and stay. Hard Rock Casino to gamble. The auditorium will be right next door and many different routes to the certain area. Then referring to the cons, we have I-4 right next door, so I-4 is always usually slammed with traffic in the afternoon. There are no restaurants in the surrounding area and possible competition with the auditorium and Busch Gardens. So our weighted scale for the Tampa Fairgrounds, we come to the conclusion of land space at 25%, location at 25%, convenience 15%, distance between cities 15%, and fan base 10%. Overall, we have decided to choose the Tampa Fairgrounds as the best choice for the Tampa Bay Rays to move to. Here also is a great example of the location that the Tampa Fairgrounds has. Has a lot of parking, a lot of everything everywhere, which is perfect for a hotspot for the new Tampa Bay Rays Stadium.